Sepia.
Welcome to today's show. This is Brenda Bates, Medicine Woman, and with me is
Jen Toffel, Medicine Woman.
And this is Medicine Woman Reveal. If you have been watching or listening, because you can watch the videos, which we haven't got them up yet, but we've been doing jam sessions. And this has been about how Medicine Women Reveal tell you how they resolve their issues in life. It is a way to show you that the soul language has a whole new meaning. Living on the other side of the veil and learning how to become a spiritual human. And all I can say is, I picked up a card that says Companion. This is an archetype card. This is about the templates that we can be in. We have four major archetypes that we all have, and that is a prostitute, that is the victim, that's a saboteur, and the child. The child can be in many ways. The prostitute, to start off, is that when do you become less than to fit into a situation, to be fed, or to be accepted. Prostitute card is not about sex. It's not about selling yourself. Now, a true prostitute is somebody that actually went out and says, yes, I am doing this service to get this, and I intentionally know I'm doing it. Most of us don't even know we intentionally do this.
We give our power away. We give
That's
ourselves
exactly
away.
right.
We sell ourselves short.
We give our power away. It's all about the energy. And for so long, as a teacher, I have been saying, yes, you can come to me with your hells, but we're going to resolve them, because I don't enable you to stay in your hells. But yet, at the same time, I am for that underdog, for I was one. I have now moved into the next lesson of what I need to unlearn and learn. I'm done putting up with people's hell. I noticed that when I was doing a reading for myself, I was like, why is it that I physically, not mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but physically can't seem to get to manifest? Now, in the past, I was a great manifester, and all of a sudden, this past year had all been about, no, everybody else gets to get their turn. So then I had to learn from an old program that repeats itself. We're going to give you a ton of information, so I hope to God that you re-listen on tindeck.com/users/MW Reveal, because there is a lot of information that they want to pour through. You have to understand that I will be jumping all over the place, but it all makes perfect sense, because you need this information, this definition, to make sense of this.
And we're not talking to your conscious mind, we're talking to your subconscious. So if your conscious mind can't keep up and just has a big old WTF bubble above your head, re-listen. We're not talking to your conscious brain.
And that is exactly what we want to do, is to help you understand that who you are is operated from your subconscious mind. Now, one of the things is that we stop aging. Okay, well, let's put it this way. We stop growing by the age of 20. We begin to age after the age of 20. All of our programs are pretty much set by the age of 20. One of the things that we keep replicating every single day that we come into the observation mode, meaning you're the observer, and the moment upon awakening and you start to fire those brain cells, you become the ultimate observer. And you get to decide what you get to focus on, which is your over-identities or your true identity. And if you understand the progress of time of conception up to the age of 20, what you're doing is you're going to find the feel-good. The feel-good peptides. And we have, okay, we got to go find those. And so then that program kicks in and we have to look for those. But all of the programs that are stored in the caudate nucleus, which is all about fear or joy, get in the way. And your soul is saying, can you heal it now? You didn't do it when it first happened. And those first experiences are very important, because you get to recycle. And some people say, oh, I don't believe in reincarnation. Okay, get off the station, go somewhere else. But we believe that the soul never dies. It just wakes up to another dream. Meaning, it's just like at night when you go to sleep, you dream. Well, we choose to be in the thick of this plane of existence and all of the dimensional strings that can be, and we choose to use all of our sensory system to make what is almost 99% empty space, but that 1% is what you see and touch and feel. Now, let's get back to the age of 20. Before the age of 20, you are recreating those programs. And your brain only looks at the programs and says, oh, we didn't fill the quota of pain, the quota of hurt, the quota of love. Oh, so how do we get this meat suit that we are in to go in that direction? Most of the time we live in our conscious mind. There's a difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Jen, what do you think the importance of understanding when people are just stuck in the consciousness?
All they're seeing is this table. They're in their car, they're just, which is important that you're paying attention to the other cars as you're driving down. There are moments where being in your conscious mind is important.
Yes.
But you just get so wrapped up and focused and decided that this is all there is. Things happen to me. I have no control over my reality.
Which means you get stuck in the effect instead of
right.
cause
And you're
effect.
doing this to me, and you're doing this to me, and I'm taking names, watch out, I'm kicking ass and taking names. But you don't understand that you have absolute control over your reality. You are writing the programs and unwriting the programs and constantly evolving and changing. That's the goal anyway.
And it feels like most of these programs get stuck or written in stone, and I'm here to tell you that's not true. So let's go back, the age of 20, and all that time you're collecting. All we're doing is going back to the emotional feeling of what creates the frequency to vibrate in your physical body if certain marks are stored and you have anger, which I have wonderfully have noticed that jumps all over my body, but is mainly in my lumbar region where your personal power is. And that is the first point of where you store your personal power. It's part of that foundation in the hips. It's in that lumbar region.
It makes sense that it's in the root chakra area.
Mm-hmm. But it's not
your powerhouse.
and it's not just the root chakra, because your first chakra is that can you have the strength and the tolerance to have your personal power, to be creating a carbon footprint, but also the 4 body systems, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, to create a movement that is on this planet. And your root chakra says, can I do it within the home? Second chakra, it's all, can I do it with people? Third chakra is, can I do it with myself? Your personal power would happen to be the third chakra. That's your personal power. But your personal life force runs through every part of you. We are nothing but frequencies. And each one of these frequencies vibrate at different lengths. Every time you go and observe, you create a new light refract through the yin and the yang, creating a whole new frequency. And everything from the parasite to this table to just the air have frequencies. That is how we recode.
Right, because if you look at everything on the subatomic level, it's just pure vibration. When they've gone and they've taken them, whatever level microscope it takes to see the subatomic level, you're just vibration.
Mm-hmm. So up until the age of 20, you are constantly collecting things, okay? You are the first moments. How do you react those first moments? Your soul says, we're going to come in. Here's our contract. This is what we've gone through. These are the lessons we have to learn. And most people get stuck on the words, these are the lessons we have to learn, because this is life school. We have to learn. Well, here's the thing. You don't just have to learn. You have to also unlearn.
And unprogram.
Mm-hmm. Because when you come in and the first experience, let's say your father's screaming at you and all you know is your center of love, because you just got thrown off. If you react in a way, like for instance, you're scared crapless, guess what? That tells your soul that we got to make note here, because they did not stop being stuck in this observation. They let it get to them personally. They did not know how to react to it. They don't have a program, so this is something else they still have to learn. And then all of the unlearning is when you go in and you think, okay, how do I stop this pain, this frustration? How do we stop it? You have to recover. You have to remember, you're a person that wants to go back to the center of joy.
And you also want to save face.
True. But the center of joy, our brain wants to look for that happiness. And if the caudate nucleus is full of fear, the main thing that you're doing, like I said, up to the age of 20, is always looking for that happiness, that joy. And so the moment you get thrown off, you're trying to scramble to find a certainty so that you can get the self-talk to shut up, the emotions to calm down, so you don't have to be depressed or angry. You have to find that center, and you're doing your best to scramble. That's what we refer to as a false self-assuredness. You are doing whatever you can to pacify, to deal, to, what else do I call it?
Coping.
To coping.
Soothing. It is putting like that little passy in your mouth that you've got to get back to that place so that you can be in this reality, because otherwise you're just going to be this scrambled mess.
And you're unable to process. That's all you're saying to yourself. This first experience occurred. I'm unable to process this first experience. So you have to recover. You have to scramble. You have to do something. As a kid, you only have not the left side of the brain as much as you have just the love center, the parts of that are there, because you're born with fear. You have group conscious fear. You have the fear of your hereditary. You have the fear that's wrapped into the soul. And these are the things that need to be resolved. And every time the fear is there is because it's the rejection of pieces of yourself on a mirror consciousness. All of these things is, I'm not going to be this, I'm not going to be that, I won't do this, I won't do that. So, as a child, let's say I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like my father. That is a decision, which then can turn into values, and then which, I want to back up. Your values can only come about when you have belief systems, but your belief systems only can come about when you make a decision. When the observer makes a decision. And when you make a limited decision, meaning at the time that you created it was at youth. You cannot be an adult when you're a kid. Okay, as far as the brain capacity of what we use as an adult.
Your development.
So the underdevelopment or the stunted growth, whatever the choices you make, even inside the womb, before you even create a physical form, you are using your consciousness to make a decision. Okay? But you don't have the full capacity. So what happens is that you make the decision. Oh my God, I'm not going to be nothing like that. So if that's what you wrote in your little manual for living, you are then going to replicate that quota. I'm not going to let that happen. And then, but you're losing power as soon as it becomes limited. Because if you were not supposed to use your anger, and you said you don't want to become that, guess what? Anger, if it is not processed, because anger is about fire. And it's about that processing to make change occur. And if you're really sitting there paralyzing that particular element inside of you, you will then turn around and then it will become rage. It can become a very unhealthy emotion. But in the middle, that anger is not negative. It is in a balanced state of equilibrium that says, I need this to motivate me. I don't like that. What can I do? And you can use that energy to change. Now, when you don't, you stifle it, you store it, physical symptoms occur. Does this make sense so far?
Makes sense to me.
Well, when that happens, you need that fire to what? I want to thrive. A fire to wake up, to take care of myself, to create, to think, to be outspoken, to
be
learn
motivated,
to motivate, to have a voice. But when you start to throw it off center, it can be turned into rage. And if you throw it to the other side because it's too nice, then guess what? Then you attract people's rage. So, what am I really saying? Is that I'm taking this limited decision that I created as a kid that I'm not going to use my anger. Because apparently when I listened to my family members as I was growing up, remember it's their lens, but still there is some truth to it. And that is, my sister said I was so mean that I would be mad at her. I would just take a pan and bang her over the head just because I could. And I've been asking that question as an adult, 45 years old, watching the TV show, which is The Twilight Zone, and this woman's rage, the audacity of how she could just control her husband.
The haughtiness.
The haughtiness. And it was like, seriously, what gives her the right to do this? And she doesn't mind doing this. Yes, it's a TV show, but I have watched real life people do this, especially on Christmas Eve when I was at the hospital.
Right, people have the audacity to just go and behave, and I get this, and I'm entitled to act this way, and you better effing mind your manners around me or whatever.
Yes, and here I was, so shocked And then I thought, why am I projecting this? Why is it important that I see this on my screen? Why? And as I started to analyze it, it was like, oh, I'm beginning to become in the middle of a lesson. That's the beginning process. When you're in the middle of a lesson, you know, because you have no control over it. You have to learn how to become a spiritual human, stand back and watch how you go through all of these emotional, humanistic mindset and beliefs that seem to engulf you. Well, we'll be back after this message to learn more. Thank you.
And we're back.
And it's good to be back. So, what's important is that we're not just talking. In a soul language, it's important to understand the statements and the energy and the intensity behind certain statements. Don't want to be like that. That can be a simple statement. But when you back it with, on a scale from 0 to 10, I know I don't want to be like that, guess what? It has energy. It has to stay alive. Your energy has to keep it alive. And if it is a depleting energy, because that is a negative statement, I don't want to be like that. Okay? What will happen is that you can't help but to create your reality and reprogram that that's what you got to have, and you will lose life force. Your life force was out of balance, and so then you create what they call an acid dip. You know, your body is no longer slightly alkaline; it's too acidic.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with food, trust me. Okay? It all has to do with energy, and it all has to do with us being the creator, our thoughts and our emotions. So now let's go a little bit further. That statement, once I find out how I know it, and that is with the intensity, my definition, then it needs to be disabled. It needs, because your subconscious mind is asking you, can you process it now?
Right, it's no longer, it worked in that moment. It was a way to cope. It was a way to get through that moment in time, so then you could go on to the next whatever task that needed to happen in your life, however old you were, you know, as a adolescent or child. But now it's actually sucking life force energy.
Because what happens up to the age of 20 is that we collect our first, we go through all those things, and then eventually we stop growing and start aging because we stop making known the unknown. Part of this medicine woman's reveals job is to help you understand you already know the stuff. Now understand how you know it, and then use the tools to help recreate and manifest your life in a healthier alignment with your soul, not with the world. And that's just going to be a benefit. But to your true identity. You don't have to work for it. You just have to work on and work for by taking and putting the effort to decide, you know what, I realize that my soul is speaking to me and that it's saying I'm losing power to this. Now, awaken, be the shift, be that mirror consciousness. You're going to change it. We're looking at the mirror consciousness all the time. And the mirror consciousness is that I have my consciousness, and as I'm looking out around me, what is it mirroring back? There are things that I've rejected. There are things that are me. There are things that I've said I don't like. There are things, and so I'm keeping and fueling all of these different things alive. I'm fueling it. I'm keeping it alive. Now, when you stand in the cause and effect, there's no blame. It is understanding that the bigger picture is, oh, if I've created it, I can uncreate it. Nothing is written in stone. I had lost my authority many, many years ago when I first came on this planet. I didn't have the strength nor the tolerance for the energy of the Detroit riots. It's not about the Detroit riots, it's about the consciousness that I had stepped into, because it was about, there is no tolerance. Because if you were going to the after hours and the police are coming and saying, they're not going to tolerate you breaking rules. And then the other side is that the black community that was celebrating the person that come home from war, they're not going to tolerate having their rights taken away. And then you have somebody that it all started when they decided they wanted to bust a window because they have the right. I want that. So there's all of these different energies that are happening. Nobody wants to tolerate anything. Nobody, and all there is about fighting. This is what happens when love cannot even be able to do that. Love equals, the only way to have it is through pain, anger, agony, suffering. And peace is only just for that moment, and then it's gone. Well, I also represent hope. I have come on this planet and didn't realize my true calling until just in 2003. You are hope. Your job is to eradicate disease. And I thought, what the heck does that mean? Well, where does disease come from? Your thoughts, your emotions, the observer. It's how you attach and unattach. When the observer is staring so intently at something, and it has the whispering, hey, hey, stop looking at that. And it keeps looking. Sometimes it needs a proverbial brick wall, a proverbial semi-truck, or just a bitch slap in general to get you to stop looking.
Like in Moonstruck when Cher smacked Nicolas Cage, snap out of it.
Yes.
That's what we need, snap out of it.
Because all healing and changes take place on the subconscious level. And there's that peak moment when all changes can happen in an instant. And most of the time we have been taught that we have to get some fall down, break, hurt, whatever it is, down to our knees, break our will, just so that we can stop being the observer staring at that thing. Now, most people that have had that proverbial brick wall turn around and go, oh my God, they don't even know that they stopped looking. That doesn't matter anymore. Now they have to go and learn a whole new thing about feeling and a way to live that they had completely forgot it because it had changed out of their life. And it's so important to understand that your subconscious mind is the one that's really running your programs. It has also the innate wisdom and the innate ability to heal you. But you are also still the programmer, and you need to take responsibility. Not in the human mindset of blame and judgment. So, why is there such passion? Well, let's put it this way. When I started to say, I don't want to be like that, I'm not going to have the anger, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to be like my daddy. But I also know that that was a sign for my subconscious mind that the moment that I start to step into that anger, then I am supposed to then have a correction process. Not just in the thought process of the mind, but an actual process that sends and emanates out a signal that says somebody is supposed to correct me. You heard me correct. Somebody is supposed to correct me. Somebody has got to help me. My reflection has to tell me when I've overstepped that belief system, that thing I wrote down that says, anger, if I go this far, then this has to be changed. Well, that's when I had all of a sudden, as soon as I would show any emotion of anger, people around me would just lose it. They would lose it to the point where they'd show their anger, they would show their pain, and then all of a sudden, I would stifle, and then it would get stored.
Because you didn't want to be the cause of their pain.
Exactly. And so then I would sit there and help out and work with the situation more and more with people. So, I'm watching my husband scooch by. There, now he's gone. And we can distract ourselves, and that's the whole point. Going back to the arch times. Was I prostituting myself out by taking and saying no to my anger? Yes, because I lost power. I, as a child, said, I don't want to be this. Which sounds like it'd be the right thing to do. But it's not about right and wrong. It's about energy and frequency. And when it started to build to the point as I got older, put it away. Others can't handle it. So then I would put it away. People can't handle it. And
They don't want me to be this. They don't want me to express that. They don't want me to do this. Okay, I will, put it away and walk away.
And it sounds like they're controlling me, but again, the program lies when I said I don't want to be this, and then all of the layers that go after it. I have to now make sure that I recreate my life. And that means I have to have people help me to fulfill that prophecy that if I go beyond it, I have to have a self-correction process. Which sucks, because when you don't understand the mirror consciousness of things, it can just look like those people are taking my power. They're causing me to do this. They did it. And when you start to really look at the mirror consciousness, then all of a sudden, the bigger picture unfolds. In the right brain, where the bigger picture unfolds, there is no judgment. You simply are going, oh, fascinating. But in the left brain, because it has to create a mirror in reverse to what it's looking at, it has to do things backwards or see the finer details. It can get caught up and become the observer where they're observing so intently that it needs a bitch slap. Our free will has not been free the moment we took and decided that we could not handle this moment. We couldn't process this moment. Our free will became a prison. I created my chains. I created all of these things. And I just created another blog. And this full year is totally different, which is a good thing to some degree. I am creating tons of memes, little blogs here and there. But one of the things is that I don't even know if Jennifer, and yes, I said your full name to get your full attention, is that when I put my blog up, let me see if I can find it. Sure, I post a lot of stuff. And that's called blogging in itself. Come on, can wait for it to kick in. There was a phrase that I can't remember. I believe the phrase has to come from the one, something to do with Ebenezer Scrooge. And of course I can't get this to work, so you may have to go ahead and get on my website one way or the other. And then we'll give you the phrase in a minute. But we are the prisoner of our own doing. And I am here to teach you the tools to help you become free of the chains that bind. I want to help you to just change and then get out of what we created.
Did you put it on your fan page?
Oh yeah, they're all over. So as soon as you find that little acupuncture dude,
Just do
it's
it.
called Healing Trained Reactions.
Yep.
And as soon as she gets it open, then it has a phrase. And it says, keep going, says by Charles Dickens. Yeah, we always say, what the Dickens?
What the
and
Dickens?
I say Charles. I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. I girded it on my own free will, and of my own free will, I wore it. And that was fascinating. Now scroll at the bottom, Jen, and see what I wrote. Keep going. The last line. What's it say, Jen?
Thank you. No, that's not what it says. But it says, I observe life and look into the catalog of life to inspire me of ideas that I wouldn't think of on my own. I give credit to my business partner, Jen Toffel. I like her style of blogging. Thank
And the
you.
thing is, it's not about stealing. It's about building, creating
It's
your own
about saying,
voice.
hey, I like that. You know, maybe I can apply my own ideas to it.
We have gone to the extreme sometimes of going, oh my God, they stole this. No, it's about one creation on top
compliment.
of a creation. Yes, and it is a compliment. But when you have people that throw their anger around that is, in some way or another, they believe they have the authority to use it. They believe they have to do this. We were brainstorming last night, and it was really interesting to know that my RTJP, the right temporal junction parietal lobe, we all have one. And its main job is to think what other people think.
Awesome.
It creates our health. It creates us to stay in our comfort zone. It creates us to constantly see the lens of that person. And so they are mad at me. I mean, my husband says, well, let me go fix the speakers on the one, and I'll be right back. Now, I had asked him, and it hadn't been done, and so then I had said something, and then he said he's going to do it right then. Without consciously knowing it, my program is that he's out here hooking that up. I consciously know that he's not mad, but my body, because of well-trained and creating proof to say, yeah, that's true, from the past, and having that first decision, my body was drowning. I started to cough. I could not breathe. I said, what the hell's wrong with me? And I'm trying very hard to just gasp for air. And I said, oh my God. And I was testing myself, and I asked the question, is this happening because I think my husband's mad at me? I couldn't get an answer, a straight answer, because my emotions and my thoughts are all over the place. I'm too human right now. I can't get into, my body's over-identifying so much humanistically, I cannot connect up with that higher self. But I am aware. Spiritually, something's happening. So then I finally said, that's it. I got out of bed, I come and go to talk to him, and next thing you know, we're talking about the breathing. He says, you think, I love how he went into his intuition. So, you think I'm mad at you? So I stuck my arm out and said, would you muscle test? Because I can't. My body said yes. He's going to be mad at me. Because I asked him to do something for me. Because I asked to be taken care of. I asked to some degree. How can I ask without looking selfish? And so,
Or hear their bitching in response, because that's
I'm so used to
something
hearing
else
that.
that we've collaborated and brainstormed about when we're unpacking our own crap bags. One of them
Exactly.
is that when we've asked for help, we hear from the other people, "Oh my God!" And so it's like, no, I'm not going to ask for help because you're just going to be an ass about
I
it.
created her through my own lens to, I helped her with her stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh, she was feeling so good. But because it was 4 or 5 in the morning, all of a sudden she decides she's going to take on a new resolution for herself.
Right then, in that moment.
And she goes, well, if there's anything you have to heal, she says, let's get her done so that I can get on with what I want to do. And I'm like, get out of here. I love you, but she was waiting for me to say it. She knew in the old programs, if she says it a certain way, she can walk out that door.
Yeah. And it worked.
And it worked. It worked.
Yay.
It worked
Thank you.
the other day
Thank
too. I said, yep, get out of here. I'm done.
Okay. But then last night it was, I knew that we were going to unpack
And so
really
then-
get to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, and we did, but we did it in a way that we weren't bitching at each other. If you would say it was a normal session of 2 people coming together, God, there should have been more fireworks than what was being laid out there.
Right.
You call it hashing it. We hashed it out.
Yeah, hashed it out.
But we didn't hash it out in the human sense because it really wasn't about blaming each other, because the way we were speaking was the soul language, and it's like, son of a, why is this happening? Okay, when you do this, I do that. Why am I creating this reality like this? Why do I create you to do? We're learning how to take that cause and effect of being that responsible. Responsibility is the ability to show up. You're choosing to show up like this, and I'm making people show up like this, and it's like, okay, why? And so then, yes, she has her programs, I have mine. We both know this. This is why do I say that? Because a lot of people say, and you'll find out after this, after our break. Okay, just like I said, what is it? You know, people come to me and say, Brenda, it's not my fault, it's theirs. When is it their fault? Yes, it is their shit sometimes. And
Because you picked a really good person who has their own shit to deal with, and they may not even be aware that they have their own shit to deal with, but they've emanating this, and you need them to emanate whatever it is, and you've come together, and now they're amping you up to heal your stuff, and you're saying, well, it's their stuff. No, it's your stuff. They're just saying, here's the lesson.
Yep, and see, and their stuff's there too. But don't get confused with your stuff and their stuff. And you're like, seriously? We're even
Help me with the confusion. Okay.
Well, that's why you process out your story. Doing the spiritual investigation, which I'm teaching classes on. You get a free class.
For a
Now,
month.
yeah, we're going to try for a month. Maybe. All I know is that on January 10th, there's only room for 9. If there's more than 9, I will recreate a new class. It's a free class. It's an hour long. And it's about listening to Spirit speak to you, to teach you and help you to become more of a spiritual human. To help you understand the soul language. Then there will be another class, hopefully, maybe I might start in February. That's about, also could be free for the first month. That's about healing your shit, but that's not what I'm calling it. I should. But then again, I said processing health. I don't have health! So if I said healing your shit, I don't have shit. Okay, you know, that's fine. All I can tell you is that when it is theirs, when it is theirs is when you're starting to point out their issues and making it a flaw, turn it into a blame judgment game, and constantly sitting there looking at it. All you're doing is reading code. I wondered why my son, an awesome kid, seems to break things. And it's not that he intentionally gets angry and smashes it. Oh, the chair leg just broke just because he was sitting there. This kid emanates energy. So finally I said, what is that all about? Well, I got a first-hand experience, and that's the only way you're really going to process your hells, is to relive the feelings and experiences. You're never going to understand what lessons need to learn and unlearn if you don't feel the experience. So, we talked last night, me and Jen, and then I realized at birth I had no tolerance, no strength. As I am progressively moving forward in my career, my physical body keeps trying to lose strength, and I have no tolerance. And I'm like, seriously. So we found out I abandoned myself. We know an understanding of what if someone abandons you.
Right.
Okay? So let's just get another review of this. People abandon us, and how do we know it?
We see them walk away, they die. We watched that movie last night, Surviving Christmas, and that the guy, Ben Affleck's character, had to write down the grievances, and his big one was, people I love leave me.
Yes. And that's a decision.
And that's a big example of abandonment. You know that you get that person that I love, mother trucker, they just died. They left me. I'm watching them leave. I see their car pull out my driveway. They're gone.
You feel the separation. You feel that the connection of what created you to be happy just left. It's not their responsibility to make you happy, but because we're so human and we observe everything through just the human lens called the ego, electromagnetic guiding omni apparition, is that we literally then place all of the responsibility on the person before us to make us happy. As a child, we have to learn to completely rely on this human being to fulfill our needs, and they are primal needs. And if your primal needs are unmet, it can affect who you are. I just had to heal a primal need that had to do with, I don't get to be a kid. And that is what led me up to this moment, which we'll talk about. Jen, you just healed something that was very important. You don't think of this as a primal need, but it very much is.
Being able to develop at my own pace.
Mm-hmm. And when you healed that, it changed your thinking. You hadn't known that it was related to the thing that was making you upset.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, wow, I can't, wow, what I was thinking that made me upset, I think about it and I realize there's no intensity really there. Whoa. And she hadn't done the healing, the primal need healing, just to repair that thought process, but that is the gems, the juiciness, the profit to what you do. And as I'm sitting here and going back to the feeling of the emotions, and I can barely touch anything, I had learned that I had lost my authority. I gave it away. And it was given away the moment I decided I can't handle or tolerate or have any strength for the energies that are happening around me. I lost my authority, which means I also lost my backbone to be able to do certain things in life. I abandoned myself at birth. I didn't want to soulfully participate in this physical creation on this planet. That's what created a lot of things. And then what really caused me to really abandon myself was at 3 years old, when I had no idea what to do with the rage of my father. You could kind of say, from the child's aspect, the rage outdid her rage. Mm-hmm. At this point, all she knew was her rage. She didn't even understand that. But then somebody stepped forth which was greater than her, that had greater rage. That's what I mean by greater than her. And what does it do? It made you compare, step back. I don't want it anymore.
He trumped yours.
He trumped it. And he didn't do it out of rage towards me as much as it was just life, everything else, because he was an alcoholic, because he was these things. But I was able to see this rage, and I didn't want it. So I abandoned myself even further. And at age 5, I'm still not sure what happened, I abandoned myself further. So yes, there are degrees of how you can abandon yourself. At least I lost 62% of who I am, which we kept looking at last night, where I felt like I didn't have the authority. My footprint, my carbon footprint, my physical way of spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Just being and putting your life force onto the planet,
yes,
did not exist.
No, it didn't. But my body certainly expanded, but not my aura. I always felt like when I would do hands-on healing, I felt like I wasn't doing anything. The person who received it was able to receive it, but I could not personally experience my expandedness. I couldn't do this. And that's funny that I say the word expandedness, because expand importance of self. There is that self that you need to feel important. Not cocky or haughty, but you need to have that confidence and the self-esteem about, I'm important, and I'm worthy, and all these other things that come with it. So, when I decided, oh my God, I abandoned myself. And there's I've been working on this issue for a while, and it wasn't until I healed the primal need that I never really got to be a kid. I had to grow up very quickly. I had to make sure that everybody else's needs were met. I had to calm down the person that was enraged. I had to not show my emotions so that
Feed your brothers and sisters.
Yep. You know, we all, you know, if you ask the brothers and sisters, they take care of me. But in my little corner of the world, how I had to cope and handle with what was going on, yes, the little girl inside of me had to grow up quickly. I had to soothe my father so he wouldn't explode. I had to help the people that were in pain from the explosion so that they can feel relaxed. So they weren't going to fly out the handle. Nobody knew how to process anything.
And help your mama.
And I had to help my mom. I had to do all these things. And I had to be a good girl, and I put away, and I'm not going to act like that. That made my mother cry. That made my mother hurt. And once I healed that primal need, I thought, okay, what's the next step? I had to heal that I had abandoned myself. I mean, the list went on. I can't really recall all of it, but last night I was too tired to get up and get the recorder. And so I laid in bed working on my bladder meridian. The bladder meridian is about your will. Your free will. And if your free will is put into the chains and that I had forged myself, I had to understand how I forged them. Okay? I can't just go, oh, I'm free. Yeah, I could say that consciously, but it's the programs that need to be. Why do you think Scrooge had to go such an undertaking? Because he had to physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually experience it on all levels so that all the programs would change on the subconscious level. So he could truly become the man that he really desired to become. Happy. So, those chains were broken. And it is based on a decision, but it has to be happened at the subconscious level. So, after I healed the abandonment, I mean, I watched how I abandoned taking care of myself. I abandoned exercise. I abandoned eating right. I abandoned brushing my teeth properly. Because you talk about discipline. I abandoned discipline. I abandoned all of these things. I abandoned, I didn't abandon being loyal, trustworthy, all the right things, all the good things for people. I abandoned myself. And so I had that lack of tolerance. So anytime when something bad would happen, I couldn't tolerate. I had to get away from the conflict. I had to get away from the yelling. I had to get away from all of that. And that is another form of saying I wasn't there to have my own back. And so I had abandoned. Well, when I woke up this morning, I knew something was different. And I said, oh my God, I have no idea how the day is going to go. But for the first time, I feel like I have my own back. In my lower part, where the hip and the lumbar region was having the biggest issue, was just like too much energy was built in there. My legs were jerking all over the place. I'm like, seriously? And when I was healing, what really surprised me was the color blue kept coming up. Now the color blue is the fifth chakra. If you were watching the video, you will notice I'm wearing nothing but blue. And this is Spirit's doing, because when I got up today, I said, all right, what darn color? I'm swearing. Grabbed it. Oh, we're going to wear this. Fine. The next thing you know, I'm making myself some earrings. I'm like, okay, doing it. And turquoise seems to be a big thing. My left and right need to be taken care of. And blue represents the fifth chakra, which is about the will.
But that's also what you were healing in the bladder meridian, which is your paralyzed will.
Exactly.
It's your will center, where it is a throat chakra, but it's also the bladder meridian.
Because your bladder meridian goes up and down your body, up and down your spine. It's all through the whole system. And that paralyzed will, every time I physically and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I'm moving forward, my physical body would stop in its track and totally disable me. And I'm going, why? That's part of the saboteur prostitute. The saboteur disables me. The prostitute fulfilled this requirement. The child part says, oh, you have to keep these programs, and then you have the victim. And you can heal and resolve those programs so that those four particular archetypes can come into balance. So you've learned your lesson and come into balance. So that paralyzed will was always based on, not because I'm scared crapless, because I abandoned myself. I walked around, and I thought, oh my God, I want to exercise. Wait a minute, no, I got other things I want to do. oh, I'm so full of fire that I wanted to thrive. What do I want to do? Oh my God, I'm like a kid in a candy store. What can I do now? Oh, I took my shower, and then all of a sudden I'm texting. There's a little issue of behavior in the house, and for the longest time, I had lost my parental authority years ago when I didn't have the other half stand up for me.
And that was another thing that we were examining last night in our jam session.
Yes, and literally, it didn't matter what foot I put down, it was going to be canceled. So the kids knew, doesn't matter what Mom says, we're going to get it our way, we're going to end up doing this and we just have to do this. And it wasn't until she says, you lost your authority. And I'm thinking, did I even have that authority? And like I said, this is when I learned that I abandoned myself. Well, guess who got their authority back? I couldn't take it anymore. I had immediately got faced with stuff, so I'm texting and trying to get ready, getting dressed, all this, texting. I said, that's it, I'm done. And when I say I'm done, you have to watch out. And I had no idea the amount of energy, because Dr. Sarno, the mind-body prescription, I believe, Dr. Sarno, he takes anybody that has back problems, neck problems, and he will give you a 3-hour lecture. And after that lecture, people starts applying what he's teaching, and lo and behold, their back pain disappears, their neck pain's gone. And it's all in your thoughts, it's all in your head, it's all in the way that your body creates those chemical peptides, it's all in that education. And so I'm going, all right, the energy's pinging around, what's in there? I don't consciously feel rage. Okay, again, there's that word conscious. I don't consciously, in this moment, somebody says, well, you're mad. No, I'm not. Were you ever mad? Well, of course! What are you, stupid? That's usually a human mindset reaction. But what haven't you been able to release? And I've been sitting there ever since I reconnected with Dr. Sarno's book, because I completely forgot about it. And I'm like, that's funny. So every time I would get a twinge, I release it. I told my brain, I'm done, I can release it. And lo and behold, one of the things that occurred was I could feel it leave, but yet it was still like pinging back and forth. So when I stood my ground today, it came full throttle. She had to hear it. I was done. I had my back. I could feel that I had my authority back. Whether I won or not, that was not the issue. I'm done. I'm willing to lose everything I have to have. I'm done. And literally, I barely touched.
In some regards, when you say I'm okay with losing the relationship on some level was already lost.
Right, and I had made my romanticize that there was one.
Right.
And so I took all those little nuances and just set it aside and created what I had and said there was one. And so I barely touched my desk. I have a glass top desk. I cracked it. And I said, damn, son of a bitch. And then I took my brush and I said, that's it. And I just tossed it across the room. But the energy that went out before the brush made an impact and broke my brush. I put all that energy in that brush without knowing it. I put all that energy before me and the table cracked. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to touch anything else. I barely touched my door. Slam! I'm like, no. All right, I have to take this energy and I have to start channeling because there's too much rage coming out physically now. And the fire is too strong. I mean, I don't sweat.
But you
I
don't
learned to sweat.
But you don't want to suppress it.
No, not anymore.
But it's, where is that energy going to go in a healthy way?
Yeah, I got too many things I can break. We're going to take a break.